Welcome back to the channel, guys, and in this video we'll be talking more about prototyping. Well, this is going to be more like a discussion. It's not going to be the usual pattern, and it's this way because I currently have a mentee that's on the call with me, and so I will be showing you guys a lot of things in regards to prototyping, also some advanced way of actually prototyping your videos. And without any further ado, we'll get right into this. The things that we want to do is ensure that this screen does not waste time before you get into the screen. And to do this, you need to switch over to prototype. Now there's a shortcut for prototype. If you're like me, I like to work with shortcuts. So one of the key things I would do is I would hit Shift plus E, and that's my shortcut to navigate to prototype. And if I want to go back to design, I would also hit Shift plus E. So Shift plus E will take me to prototype. Now we're in prototype, and I'm going to select this one. Now basically what we want is for it to move from here when we tap on the app or the prototype link into this other screen without having to tap on this screen again when it opens. So we'll drag it from here into this one, and what we have here are the basic settings we can do, telling this is how we want you to showcase, or this is basically how we want this interaction to be, you know, like just doing your normal settings on your phone, but this is different. So on tap, where you see on tap, you tap on it and you're going to change it from on tap. On tap means when the user gets to this screen, they need to tap on something. So obviously they are not going to be tapping on anything in the real sense. So we're going to use after delay. So you click on after delay, and that would now mean that once the user taps on this, once the user taps on the link, it shows this for a duration, and then it moves over to this screen. Now this is basically a timer. You're telling it, oh, this should stay here for 800 milliseconds. So if we play this, you can play this over here. It's called the flow starting point. If I remove that, I can add a flow starting point just by clicking here. So we now have a flow 11, which we can just change to prototype with the title here. We can title it and call it prototype. Now if we tap here, we're going to see the first prototype or interaction we've done. It's going to show up shortly, and you can see what happened. All right, if you want to restart it, just press arrow on your keyboard and it will just restart, and you can see how long it took. So this is perfect. Is this perfect?
Milliseconds.
Yeah, 800 milliseconds. Is this good? Do you think once the user opens their phone and it just loads in this manner, it's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is perfect actually, but you can also increase the number if you wish. So I'm just going to leave this by the side here, and then we'll continue with the next one. The next one, what you want the user to do, by the way, for people watching this, because I had to take Homer's permission to record this session, these are screenshots from the Bolt app. All right, so I'm giving full credit to Bolt for the design that you're seeing. All right, now once you get to this particular screen, we want to do two things. So how would this interaction work? What happens when we click on a particular button? So if we say get started, which is the instance that we have here, we don't have the login, then it should take us to the get started screen. But there's a way it will take you to that screen. Now it's not going to take you to the screen by sliding left. If you open a mobile app, you would think of it as how an actual mobile app works. So once you tap on get started, it's going to show this other screen, but there's a way it's going to show it. It's going to just slide in most cases. Yeah, but in this case, we're going to make it instant. We don't want it to have those animations because it's a fixed screen. It's not a screen that is supposed to play with too much animations. If you have any questions, don't worry, ask me as I'm talking. So I know it can be a bit confusing.
No, it makes sense. Thank you.
All right. So for this screen, to showcase this screen, all we need to do is select the get started we have it here. It shows the node for you to connect it to the next screen, or the connector, so we can drag it from here into the screen. Now once we get to this screen, we can't go back because we don't have a back icon. So I'm going to fix that very quickly. I'm just going to grab this back icon. I'll just come here and grab it, because there should be a way for the user to go back to this particular screen. All right, so I'll grab this, I'll break it out, and I'll take out this header which says enter the code. All right, so we'll go back, Shift+E for the prototype, and with this guy, now I'm going to show you the best way you can go back without having to show a node going back to that screen. But let's first of all interact with this one. So for this one, we're going to say it's going to be on tap. So once the user taps on get started, you're going to see it here on tap, then it should navigate to this screen. All right, now because we have this icon showing left and right, we're going to change it from instant to move in.
Okay.
Move in. So now in move in, we have different positioning for the next screen to move in. It's either the screen is moving from the bottom, right, left, or the top. So how do we want it to move in? For things like bottom sheets are extra screens that show up on a screen. They show up like pop-ups, but they are not pop-ups. Something like this, but this is not a bottom sheet. A typical example of a bottom sheet is this one that has this handle here, but the background is mostly dark, like the one next to it. So for those type, you can now let it move up, so it will come from the bottom and then just show up at the top. So that's the best example for that one. But for these ones that showcase an arrow pointing left, meaning that you can go back, then we're going to use the arrow signal. So it's very easy. Just know what arrow is showing at the top, and if it's this arrow, then just choose that particular arrow, and it's going to go back to that particular screen, and then leave it on ease out. Ease out, this is basic, so I can't really show you so many of them, but there are so many ones here. Like linear, the one I did yesterday for the story prototype, I used linear in some cases. There was a rare case I did over the week. I used linear for it. All right, there are other ones you can experiment with them to see how they work. Some people like to use custom Bezier. Those are people that have mastered prototyping a lot. So once you use custom, you give it a particular number based on your experience, and it works. But you can play with all of this, but it's pretty much the same thing. All right, ease out. We're going to use ease out, and we have this. Now, if we go back to our prototype over here, all right, if we bring this here now, and we tap on get started, are you seeing what happened? It flowed that way. So that's how it's supposed to. Now we need to go back, and that's why prototyping your designs is very important. So while you're working, prototype it. Most people don't like to do this, but what it does is it would let you know the screens that are not available in the design, because most times we're done as designers, we know we're done, but we're not actually done. There are certain screens that we did not pay attention to, and we just felt like, oh, it's nothing, or most times we don't even know that those screens are supposed to be there. And then when we try to prototype, you can see once I get to this screen, I need to go back to create an account and all of that. This is actually to sign in. Yeah, so we use the get started, which is fine. We don't have the both screens, so we can just use any of the actions.
Okay.
So for this one is sign in, and we need to go back. Now for us to go back, this is where the trick comes in, and I like that I'm recording this so you can watch it after again and again. So for this screen now, we need to go back to this screen. Maybe we clicked on get started and we wanted to click on login. There are people like that. You got distracted by someone and you wanted to click on something and you click on something else. So how do they go back? So they'll select this and go back to this. Now we're going to point this here. It's showing a node, but this is what we are basically going to do. Now Figma has something called the back action. So the back action work like a variable, and this variable will just signal what action you took last. So if I used an action from this other screen, then if I do this action, this screen, I put the variable back here, it will take me back to this screen. But if the action came from this screen to this screen, then if I put the back here, then it goes back to this screen. So to do that, all we need to do is click on navigate to. You can see navigate to and change
Yep.
that to back. Now, the action is on tap, not on drag. You can use any action at all, but the one we want to use is when the user taps on this back icon, what happens? It goes back. So we
Back.
have back here, and we have other stuff that you can explore. We're going to use this overlay very soon. I'm going to show you how it works. So we use back, and now you can see if we click out of here, we don't see arrows pointing here. It's just within its own frame. All right, it doesn't show so much arrows. Now from here we can now tap on our prototype, and then we would be able to go back. Let's start afresh. So if I hit arrow, sorry, I have to select the screen. All right, so if I select this screen, it loads and get into this one. We hit get started, and then we can hit back, so it goes back to the get started screen. All right. So that's why I'm using this, the actual frame. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, perfect. Let's continue. So from here, I would select this frame now, the
Okay.
actual frame that has the design, and you can see it's going beyond the screen. So what I would do is I would reduce this, take it to the top, place it here. So I reduced it just by moving it. You know, if I clip content, you're going to see that some part of it is hiding. All right. So it's just reducing the size. So I'm just going to keep it here to become the size or the height, to end at the height of the frame or container this design is inside. All right. And then that actual design, I would go to prototype, selecting this design, go to prototype, and we're going to see overflow. And in overflow, we're seeing that overflow has no scrolling, but we want it to scroll. So what we're going to do is click on no scrolling and change it to vertical scrolling. Now vertical scrolling means when the user scrolls, it should scroll from down upward. All right. And for horizontal, we use horizontal mainly when we have to showcase cards that are flowing from left to right. You know, just like when you go to a shopping app and you want to purchase things, you have to scroll from left to right. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you would use horizontal for that, and then for vertical, for things scrolling upward.
Up
All
and
right.
down.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to select this guy, and I'm going to apply that horizontal flow to it. I'm just going to give this a fixed width, zoom it in a bit, and let me change this to 16 and 16, and then I will duplicate that, select both of them, put them in auto layout, and change their direction to horizontal layout. Now we have this. I will just select them and just multiply them multiple times so that we have that flow. Now I'll select that new guy that we have, and we'll do the same thing. Remember what we did with the other one? We would reduce it to the frame where we want it to flow inside. All right, now we have this. Go to prototype, and then on prototype we're going to change it to what?
This one horizontal.
Under overflow, we'll change it to horizontal, and with that we're done with this particular interaction. Right, so we have the design here, and if you see, if we scroll, it scrolls from left to right. You can go back, you can go forward, you can go back, you can go forward, and you can also scroll upward.
Also, it's really simple.
Yeah, it is. This is like one of the simplest designs, prototypes. So that's all.